Hi there, Mike Doe at Melco, part of the applications team, and today we are going to be talking about hats, specifically back of hat embroidery. So my Bronco team didn't do very well this year, but still have to support. Anyways, I'm going to be handing this off to Nate, and he is going to take us through the digitizing side of this. So ready, set, go.
So yeah, we need to first of all set up the design for the back of the hat, and a couple of things you want to keep in mind while you're doing this. A lot of those same rules are going to apply. You know, what fabric am I sewing on? How do I want it to push? Those kinds of things. So when I'm sewing this, and when I'm setting this up, I'm going to be thinking about center out is still going to be something that I'm going to do. The bottom up may not apply as much because the open area is actually going to be below, so you may actually choose to sew from the top down to push that fabric away. But a lot of designs on the back of the cap are set up to mimic the curve of that back of the hat. So that opening, we want to kind of mimic that curve. And so how do I do that? How do I figure out what that is? We posted a PDF that I have printed out here. You can download and print out for yourself, which makes life a little bit easier. So I'm going to move over to the table and look at how to set this up a little bit better. Lies. Control.
Ah.
There we go. Perfect. All right. So all this PDF is a bunch of circles. And then what the radius of those circles are. So what I'm going to do is kind of squish my hat as flat as I can kind of get it and get my hands out of the way so that you can see.
And Nate, you might explain that there's numbers to those arcs because they're not quite visible to our friends on Facebook.
That's absolutely true. I did put the radius right in the middle so that you can see what that is. So if those numbers look a little small.
And your mic's not working.
Really? Did it go away? No, it's there.
It's there?
Sam 4.
Okay.
So I'm going to line this up as best I can, mimic that arc, and then I'm going to look at what that arc is. So right now I'm lining up to the 3-inch radius. Now if I set up my lettering for that, it is going to mimic this arc perfectly. Well, that's great if I was sewing right on that arc, and I'm going to be right above that arc, so I may want to add a little bit to that. So in this case, I'm probably going to set up with a 3 1/4 or a 3 1/2 inch radius, and I think that will work well for me. So I'm going to move over to Design Shop, and
maybe speak just a little bit louder, Nate.
Okay, or move my mic.
Yeah, that might be good.
That might be good. Might be where my mic is hit. Better?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right, so let's move to Design Shop, please.
Okay.
And we'll go ahead and set this up. So I've got on screen the hoop that I'm going to use. There are different ways to do this and different hoops that you can use, but this is the one we're going to use right now. It's the back of the hat hoop. And I'm just going to get some lettering going. So lettering tool, click on screen. I hit enter so I have access to all of my properties all at one time. I'm just going to put the website on there. And then I'm going to start changing my properties. So I'm going to go to microblock because I want it to be pretty small. And microblock at 1 inch is scary, so I'm going to make this small. And now I'm going to start changing things to work on the back of that cap. And so I'm going to go from the center out. And then I'm going to change my line type to an arc. And I'm going to change this to 3 1/2 inch radius. So again, if you look at that chart and you see those numbers and they look way smaller than you think they should be, it's because we're doing the radius, which is half the diameter, so it may feel about half the size that you think it should be. And to make things fit a little bit better, I'm just going to bring this stuff in. Did I die again? And add a little bit of pull offset. Let's center that up, and then I'm going to flip it upside down because that's how it's going to be on the cap itself. And then I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to move this just so that the bottom of my lettering falls on the origin, and that's going to help me line things up when I go over to the machine. So File, Machine, Load Design. And we are now loaded to the machine, and we can look at how to hoop designs. So let's go back to the room for a minute. You have to have focus. There you go. Perfect. Now I'm going to give Mike back his microphone because apparently mine completely died. No, it's still going. Higher?
Yeah, maybe higher. Anyways, here I am. So that's really good information from Nate on the design shop side. Once again, make sure you download the PDF that we've linked in this video of this. You might even want to take this. When I first got my equipment from Melco back in, what was it, 97? I took this piece of paper and I had it laminated, which cost me like $10 at the time. Lamination's a whole lot cheaper now. But I laminated it and then I just stuck it on the wall next to my hooping station, and I could just pull it down anytime I needed it to, because not all caps are created equal when it comes to the arch. And that includes even the same run of caps. If you buy very inexpensive caps, you might find that some of these arcs are off by just a little bit. So, make sure that you pay attention to that. Now, we're going to go through a couple different methods of presenting the hat to the machine so that we can kind of cover different situations. And I'll try to explain those different situations.
Yeah, can I pause you for half a
Sure.
second? So, somebody that commented in asked, what about underlay?
Yes, underlay.
I totally didn't think about it because it is completely set up as default in the software, so I didn't have to worry about it. I've got auto underlay on, I've got auto density on.
So I always thought underlay meant like go in Spanish. No, that's on delay. My bad. Totally wrong thing. Underlay. Underlay. Primer stitches. Gotcha. I'm with you. Okay.
I'm running away now.
Just some humor. Just trying to make it live here at Melco. So anyways, thank you for that. Yes. So underlay may be something that you need. We're actually going to talk about mesh back hats as well. And we had some fun playing around with beforehand that I'll show you a little bit of outtake of that will save you from doing the mistakes that we've learned from here today. So anyways, not all caps are created equal. Going to talk about different ways that you can present the hat to the machine. One is, and I'm going to step away for a minute, and someone took no, I put it down here. That's what I did. So the first way is I'm using the 15, or is this the 12? 12 centimeter. I always get those two mixed up. By the way, on the back of your hoop, in case you forget what size it is, there usually is a mark that'll say 12, 15, 18, 9 on there. So you can look at that. All my personal hoops, I took a Sharpie and wrote both the metric and the imperial, which is inches, for all you kings and queens out there. I put that on the hoop as well so that there was no second guessing. I didn't have to flip the hoop over. So just another suggestion. But anyways, you can use a flat hoop to hoop the back. I would do this if I was in a situation, if your company is in a situation where you're only doing backs of hats maybe once or twice a month, and maybe you're only doing a half a dozen to a dozen at a time, this is fine. No need to invest in additional equipment to do that. And how you would do this, I don't know, can we go to your little display table? Cool. So I will unhoop this real quick. You'll notice that I don't have any backing. I'm not going to worry about presenting the backing or struggling with keeping the backing in line with the hoop and the product. I'm going to take and put the backing in when we get over to the machine. So, yep, I'm going to float it. So what I'm going to do is usually I put this hoop around my wrist so it's really easy to get to. But seeing as how I'm trying to present to you, I will not do that. Also, a corner of a table is the easiest way to do that. Thank you, Otto, for giving us some hats, but I'm going to have to get rid of this for a minute. So that's going. So what I would do is normally I would lay this guy down on a corner of a table, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull this guy out.
Here, I can.
Can you?
I can pretend to hold it and try not to hurt myself.
Cool. We're ad-libbing here. So make sure that you got a nice corner of a work table to do this. And then typically...
That gives you somewhere to put the whole front of the cap.
Yep. Yeah, so you can see kind of how that works where I'm pulling the bean to the corner of the cap. I'm making sure that the eyelets of the cap are in the same place.
And then the little top button is out.
Yep, top button is outside, so we don't worry about accidentally hitting that. And once you have it on there, you can take a Sharpie marker, if you're going to do multiples of these.
My hoops were covered in Sharpie marks.
And you can mark where you're pulling the openings to, right? So that really helps. I learned today that alcohol will take off Sharpie markers. I asked if that was tequila, if it had to be top shelf. No, wrong kind of alcohol. Like rubbing alcohol is what we're talking about. So don't drink rubbing alcohol. Tequila's great. So yes, that's how you would do it. If you're using a flat hoop, we can put that back.
Make sure, just because I'm going to go in the Wayback Machine, and I had a coworker way back in the day who hooped everything on the corner of her tables. And her tables were all that, I forget, composite?
Particle board?
Particle board.
Yeah.
And
they were all busted off?
Every corner was busted off. So
wow.
Make sure that you have a reinforced corner when you're doing that. But I agree, corners are the best way to do that. Yeah,
corners will save your life on a lot of things that you're trying to, that are round or spheric, and you're trying to make flat or cylinder. So corners are very, very important when it comes to hooping. So this is one way that we can do it, hooping flat. Once we take this over to the machine, when we present it to the machine, now I don't have a machine set up that's flat, but when I put this hoop onto the machine, what we do is by floating the backing, all that means is once we hook this into the hoop arms or the support arms, we're just going to slide the tearaway backing between the bottom of the material and the needle plate. So if my right hand is the needle plate, that's kind of how the backing, let's see if I can do this.
I was going to say, do I?
Yeah, that's kind of how the backing, so
yeah,
this is the needle
totally
plate,
works.
That's the bottom of the material. That's what I would do. And once you tear this out, if you do a long piece of the backing, you can just rip it out and continue to roll it around and continue to use until that piece is gone and then throw it away instead of, trying to cut equal pieces up. It's a waste of time. Just use a long piece and be done with it. So if we could go back to room for a minute.
Yeah.
Once again, this is the small quantity, not doing a lot of cap backs way of hooping. Question?
No, I just want to say, just with floating backing, yes, it's a really cool technique. Do I want to use it all the time? Probably not. Probably only with very stable things. I don't want to be floating backing with a T-shirt or something.
Wow,
like
it's a great point. Yeah, anything that's got stretch to it, stabilizer or backing, both names are okay. It is truly for something that's got stretch either in the horizontal, vertical, or in our case, in today's world, it could be every direction.
Yeah.
The stabilizer backing is just that. It's to stabilize the material until we get the stitch on it. Using the back of a cap, the reason that we're using a piece of this is not so much to stabilize the material as it is to stabilize the stitch, because what we're doing in this case is we have part of the material or part of the hat that is not in the hoop. And so by adding that a little bit of stabilizer, it allows it not to push as much around. Does that make sense?
The other thing I use it for is insurance. If I sew it in the wrong color, I have something to cut against other than the fabric itself.
That's a good point also. Scott, we doing okay over there on comments?
Really no comments.
Okay. Make sure that if you have any comments, make sure to pop them in the comments list. I just want to throw out one more thing before we move to the next topic. I want to show you a couple things, and that is we have ISS Long Beach next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Long Beach, California. Beautiful place. I've been going for the last 15 years now. I think this will be my 16th year. I can't believe it's been that long. We're going to be sewing some really, really cool stuff at the show. Come by, visit us at the booth, say hi to all the great people that come to the show. We love seeing our customers. We love meeting new people too. So swing by, say hi, and see some of the new stuff. We'll have what is it, like 9 designs potentially being sewn at the show. So this year we're really blossoming out and doing some really cool application stuff. So just a little tag on that. All right, so next group that I would say is I do caps, backs of caps a lot. I get that request all the time, and I'm doing dozens upon dozens of them monthly. Then what I would suggest, if you don't have it, and I'll just remove this for a minute and keep the room cam going, is this is the Hoop Tech back of cap clamp. We will put in the comments section a part number, a Melco part number for this, but it is up on Shop Melco. This is really handy to have. This is really handy to have. I wouldn't, a lot of questions that we get on this is, do you use this on the cap gauge? Do I need to have one on the machine and one off? So the answer is it's up to you. I'm going to show you how I do it and how I would do it if it was my company and I was trying to be profitable. So in my case, I would only buy one of these. And what I would do is when I use it, I would put it on the cap driver and use it kind of how I use the Melco fast clamp is it's on the machine and I'm presenting the material, clamping the material on the machine itself because it's that fast to use. Some people disagree with me. That's cool. That's why we all have opinions. But in my opinion, it's only necessary to have one of these. As fast as I could hoop one off, one's going to be done, and I'm going to spend more time taking off and putting on than just presenting and taking material off the machine. So that's my my take on it. Thoughts on that?
Ben's waiting on his to be delivered.
Oh, Ben, I can't wait until you get it. It'll look something like this. Nice and shiny, Ben. So one other thing, there's 2 models of this. We haven't added, Melco hasn't added the second model, which is a larger model. To be honest with you, most caps that I've seen, that larger model is a little bit harder to get we're taking, once again, kind of like caps, the front of caps, we're taking a sphere object, and sphere means that it's round and round, right? It's got 2 dimensions. I'm not, who would this be that would know what I'm talking about? A geologist or geometry? Yeah, Einstein, our friend over on the wall, would know. But so we've got this arch and we've got this arch, and what we do when we sew caps is we only have a cylinder. We only have roundness here. We don't change here. So with that larger frame, in my mind, it's harder because then you start dealing with some of the arc up on the top. I really like this one. This one I believe we call the small. Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's the small one.
The small one.
Yeah. I always liken it to, especially when you're dealing with it completely flat, taking the peel of an orange and squishing it completely flat. Here you're not squishing it completely flat, but you are squishing it just to a cylinder instead of a sphere, and that, yeah, gets a little...
Luckily, it's an orange and not an egg.
This is way better.
Yeah,
way
so
better.
now let's show you where the magic happens. Let's hook over to the machine. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is, with this empty, no cap on there, I'm going to take and just slide it onto my cap driver, and it's going to snap in place just like the normal cap frame does. So we can see that's in place, and then there is a...
It only has 2 places it hitches, not the third.
Correct, yes, it only has 2. Obviously, it doesn't have one down here at the bottom. It's more like the conventional cap frame if you've ever used that. So we have that open, and I'm going to pop this off one more time, and if we could go back to the room for just 1 second. I forgot to show you guys a couple things. I want to show you a couple mechanisms that I'm going to use on the machine that's kind of hard to see from our really fancy camera that we're doing it on. So the first one is there is a clip that opens, and hopefully that shows pretty well. That's what hinges the opening and the closing. So that's what I'm using behind the needle case to open and close. And then the other thing that's important is you'll notice, can we see this clip or do I need to get closer? That's pretty close. So there's a clip right here, and there's one on the other side as well. And what that is that'll hold the backing in place when I slide it on. So just remember those two spots. The other thing is I'm going to be using these two corners here to line the cap arch up when I pull it on. So just like the flat hoop, I'm not going to pull it all the way through. I'm only going to pull the arches here, so I'll have an opening right here. And my goal is to get the embroidery right above the stitching, hem stitching of the hat. So let me grab a hat and show that to you. So my goal is I want the arch of the lettering that Nate created to fall right above this this hem here. Okay? All right, so let's go back over to the machine. And I'm going to slide this guy on again. And we're going to pop them on. And once we have them on, I'm going to open it up. Just like the Melco fast clamp, if you walk away from the machine, please close this. This could have a possibility if the grabber was out and this was far enough back, it could damage the grabber. So if you walk away from the machine, let's say you get a phone call or something, close this guy up just like you would with the Melco fast clamp. Close it up, go do your thing, then come back and open it back up. Okay? So I'm going to grab a hat real quick here, and I'm going to grab a piece of backing. So then I'm going to open this up, open the fast clamp, the back of cap clamp, too many clamps today. I'm going to slide the backing on, and you're going to see, might not be able to see it too well, but it's slid into these clips to hold it, so it's held in place. And then all I'm going to do is unstrap the back of the cap, and we'll talk about fitted caps or the stretch fit caps that don't have these openings here in a second, but we're dealing with adjustable hats right now. So if it has the plastic snaps on it, unsnap it. If it's the Velcro or the little brass clamp that kind of clamps the strap in place, just unstrap that, and then I'm going to just take it and slide it in. And once again, it doesn't really matter which side you slide it in from the right or to the left. The important thing is there's a little notch right here on that back of cap clamp. Check it out, Ben, when you get yours. But it's there to match up. That I use that to line up my center, and then I'm just making sure that the opening of the arch on the back is to those two spots. Once again, this is way slower than I would be doing it in production because I'm trying to display it to you, but I'm done. The next thing I'm going to do, and I'll try to move the grabber in so we can see this a little bit better, is I'm going to position my laser, and we probably are not seeing the laser very well, but the laser is pointed right to that center seam that comes down from the top of the cap and the hem that I talked about that goes around the arch of the cap. The way that Nate set my design up, or set our design up in Design Shop, that's where I want the laser to be. So now the last thing I need to do is I selected my color already. We're going to sew this in red, just making sure it's still in red. It is. And I just press start, and off to the races we go. Let's talk about presser foot height real quick. I should have done that before I started the machine. Presser foot height on the back of the cap is going to be much lower than it is on the front of the cap. The reason for that is we don't have the buckram, the stiffness stuff that makes the crown of the hat on the front stick up. So typically on the front of the cap, I'm going to be anywhere from, on a structured hat, anywhere from like 3 to all the way up on my presser foot height. On the back of the cap, seeing as how we're only dealing with the thickness of the backing and the thickness of the back of the cap, typically I'm going to be all the way down 1, 2, maybe if it's like a Melton wool cap, I'm going to be 3 clicks up. And I see giggles going around, so we must be getting some good comments, so keep them coming. So yeah, make sure that you adjust your presser foot height right. We have a couple different videos on how to do that. I won't take time to show you how to do that, but you can use either the e-stop roll the needle down, check your pressure foot height, or go into tool maintenance, head, head timing, and then bottom center. Yeah, then you can adjust the pressure foot height that way.
In the SUI, there's a button for it. Just like when you do that with the software, just make sure nobody's under the machine.
Yeah, make sure that all hands are clean from the machine so that no one gets hurt. This is a hands safe zone here at Melco, so make that your thing at your place. So anyways, let's sew. Speed, I'm at about 1,050 right now. You could run this probably up to about 1,100. I see a lot of people running hats on the back and the front. They'll run them down to like 500, 600. Really, to be honest with you, the machine is tuned to run hats at about 900 to 1,100 stitches a minute. So make sure that you're not underperforming the machine by turning that speed way down. Active feed is running, if we could switch over to the computer for a minute. You'll notice that active feed, I've got my minimum preset set to 6. And active feed is truly running somewhere between, an 8 to, I've seen the number go up to about 12, 15 when it goes over the seam. And so we're over the seam right now. You can see it go up. We're at a trim. And let's switch back over to the machine while it finishes. So yeah, this is doing caps on the back. While this finishes up, let's switch to the room for a minute. And I had mentioned an outtake. We're going to do some mesh, and we're going to show you how to do that. One thing that we did, and I don't know how well this is going to show, but we put white tearaway backing on the back of this black cap, and you can see some white dots in between the lettering. That actually is the white tearaway backing showing through. So we're going to sew another one of these, but we're going to use black backing so we don't have that problem. We'll do that one next. If you have any questions, now would be a great time to post them so we can answer them while it sews.
One comment about using the fast frames to
Yep.
do the back of hats.
Yeah, so fast frames, while this one continues to sew, what I would use the fast frames for is fitted caps. So this is a Richardson cap. This is one of their stretch style caps. Fast frames. So fast frame is really good for this. I would not do the arch of a cap on the fast frame. It can be done, but it's really hard to control that. Once again, like we were talking about a sphere, now all of a sudden, not only are we trying to do a sphere, but we're trying to do it with just 2 fingers holding it. It can be done, but it can't be done consistently, in my opinion. So I prefer, if it's a fitted cap, I would either do it in my 12 centimeter hoop like this, or I would use the Hoop Tech back of cap clamp. But what I don't think I would use either one of those for is if I'm doing fitted caps like this, I would definitely use the Melco fast clamp for that. And so we didn't quite prep for this, but I can show it to you real quick. If we can switch the camera over to this.
Give me a second so that I don't make everybody car sick.
Okay, so I've got my clamp moved in. And what I would do is I would float my backing again, but I would take the cap and bring out the stretch part of the cap, or the sweatband of the cap. Then I would present the cap like so. I wouldn't pull it much past where I can start to see it bubble up. I like to take and use my left hand to hold down on the bottom and then close the clamp up on it. And then once again, I'm going to just be sewing that text right along the bottom. We're not actually going to sew this, but this is what I would use the fast clamp for with caps. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, it's not a 180-degree web address.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the nice thing about those kinds of hats is you're not trying to mimic any curve. It's straight across the back. I have done that in a normal round hoop, and it's not my favorite thing to do at all.
No.
can be done, but this is so much easier.
Yeah, and this is a great tool. The fast clamp's a great tool for those stretch fit or fitted caps, and there's quite a few of those. One of them, can you throw me my Broncos hat again and put me on the room? So, yeah, punching, tagging my team that isn't so great the last couple years, but they're still my team. This is a fitted cap. It's quite a big head. Sorry. It's for all the hair I have. But this would have been done either as a flat or I would assume that it was sewn like this. And the only reason I think that it was done as a flat is as I look at the product and how close they got to the seam, it sure looks like they did this before they assembled the hat. But if we were to try to do something non-NFL, non-trademark related, we wouldn't want to break any laws for sure. But if we were to do something like this on the back of a cap, I personally would use the Melco Fast Clamp for that. If it's a arched cap, I would use, if I'm doing small amounts of them, I would use a flat hoop. If I'm doing large quantities of them, I would get myself one of the Hoop Tech back of cap clamps per machine that I want to do this on. And to be honest with you, even if I had 4 or 5 machines, I probably would only get one because my operator or myself could only keep up with one. So there's no reason for me to have one for every machine unless that's all I do all day long and I've got an operator per machine.
And yeah, generally back of cap designs don't have that many stitches, so you're going to be running anyway.
Yeah. So awesome. So there's that. Let's take a look. Let's stay at the room. I'm going to pop this guy off here and show you what we've got. So we've got our design, we've got our backing, and typically what I'll do, and a lot of people, I see this when I go out and see a lot of shops, I see a lot of people doing extra effort with backing. If you take and just grab the backing and give it a tear against the embroidery, both directions, and then throw the backing away, you're done. Instead, I see a lot of people just kind of tearing at it, but it's, once again, it's just the method is just tear against the embroidery on one side, against the embroidery on the other side, and you're done. In the case of this backing, I can probably use this another 2, 3, maybe 4 times before I throw this piece of backing away because I only used this much. That's another reason I like to float is I get a little bit more out of it. Not that backing costs a lot of money, but it still costs money, right? So,
and
yeah.
I use the sides even after you're done for like collar monograms and whatnot that are tiny and in a 9 centimeter.
So yeah, there is our embroidery. See if I can throw it on my head real quick here. So we've got our name on the back there. And so I want to do one more hat. I said we were going to do a mesh back hat, so we will do a mesh back hat. So back over to the machine we go. You guys are awfully quiet out there in Facebook land, so hopefully you're getting this and you're ready to go try it on your machine, except for Ben. Ben, it's coming soon. Christmas for you is coming. I'm sure of it.
There's some Broncos cheering going on. So.
All right. Yeah. The love. No hate out there for the Broncos. So anyways, same thing. I'm assuming this arch is about the same, and we're going to take a guess on this instead of taking the time for Nate to line this back up. I just want to show you how to do mesh because I get this a lot at trade shows. What do I do with mesh? So instead of using the white backing like I was about to do on a black hat, think of it just like foam. You always want to use light colors when you're doing it. So we're going to switch over to a piece of this tearaway.
That was like colors, not light colors like I just heard. So you want to make them
like
pretty similar.
With a K there, like. And so this is a little bit, this isn't cap black backing because I don't think they make that, which might be cool. Hey, Madeira, if you're listening, thanks for everything you do for us. Black backing for caps would be awesome. So I'm going to take and pull my hat on just like I did the other one and try not to get the lower arm involved. Pull it to the same spot. Once I have it there, do that. I kind of broke my own rule by walking away from the machine with that open, didn't I? So once I have that in place, the last thing I want to do is, because there's bumps from the openness of the mesh on the top, I'm going to use a piece of Solvay. If you've never used Solvay, Solvay is, I think it's like a sheet of Elmer's glue, of dried Elmer's glue. In fact, when you smell it, it smells like Elmer's glue. Not sniffing glue here, but
It's a water-soluble topping.
water-soluble topping. And it comes in multiple thicknesses. This is the thin stuff. Once again, we got this from Madeira. But I'm going to just take and pull this on.
They have it in black.
They have cap backing in black?
They do. We just don't have any here.
Madeira is awesome. Hey, Madeira, if you're listening, we would love to have some of that color here at Melco. So, all right. So I'm really not concerned about the bubbles in there. Once I have it, I'm going to just check my laser, make sure I'm lined up where I want to be. Looks pretty dang good. Maybe up just a little bit and over just a hair. And once I'm there, by the way, when I line that up, if I pull to those points each time, if I'm doing multiple hats, I shouldn't have to move the frame. I should hoop the right place each time so I don't lose that production time. So I didn't, different hat, but anyways, here we go. So while that is sewing, you guys are going to get to encounter a thread break here. And I got a fray break. Fray breaks. That might be a sign that I have my presser foot up a little bit higher, too high, and it's not holding that material in place. So I'm going to bring my presser foot down by one, and let's clean this guy up.
You're sewing on less fabric than you were sewing before.
I am, you're right. So I should probably bring my Actifeed down too, huh?
Possibly.
Possibly. So let me get this in here. Yes, I'm one of those that puts the grabber in to do the threading of the needle. Some of you don't do that, some do.
I am of the knot camp.
The knot clan.
Yep. I leave it out so I can steady my hand on it.
Ah. Little spit on there would help. It's a little dry here in Colorado today. And
So
there we
one of
go.
the questions while we've got this going on, one of the questions was, we mentioned foam. Where's a good place to get foam? We, of course, are going to go to our friends at Madeira who have foam for purchase there, too.
Yeah, if we could switch back to the room for a minute. Yeah, foam, that's a good one. So closed density foam, right? So we'll do another one on foam. We've actually done one before, I think, on 3D foam. So go back and watch that. They're on YouTube as well as Facebook. But we like to buy all of our supplies from Madeira. Melco is partnered with Madeira. I just really like the quality and consistency of the product and service that I get from Madeira. So yeah, they have a couple different types of foam. They have a 2mm foam, a 3mm foam, and then they have what's called, is it a bodybuilder or
Something like that.
bodybuilder or something? It's very high density, and that's a 3mm. But you know, coming back to that, you really want, if your thread is black, you want that foam to be black. If it's red, you want at least a shade of red that's close to it. Definitely don't want to be doing black stitches with white foam underneath it, unless you're going for the zebra look or the Dalmatian look. It might be a new thing, so try it. Who knows? Let me know. Let us know. So back to this. This is sewing out. Any other questions while we're going?
There's one that asks, what's the normal radius for back of hats?
Yeah, you know, normal radius. Nate, do you want to jump in on this one?
Yeah, I was reading that. I hesitate to give answers like that on averages, but
Is that where you're at? Up here?
No, I was going about where I was. When I used to set this up a lot of time and I didn't know what we were getting, I stuck between 3.5-ish, like a 1/4 inch either way was pretty good for a lot of what I was doing.
But you'd rather be broader than tighter.
True. Scott, you can't hear him because he's not mic'd up, but he said you'd rather be broader than tighter, which is, I think, completely true. So I stuck around that range. But this is available for download, and if you know ahead of time what you're going to be sewing, you can line it up and make it perfect. But if you have to guess, I'd guess around that 3.5 range.
Cool. All right, so let's take a look at what we sewed. So let me just pop this off, and this time make sure that I close the clamp before I walk away. Once again, with Solvay, same thing that I told you about backing. I like to take and just tap it away from or against the embroidery each time, and a lot of times it will actually take and pull out majority of the waste. The other thing that you can do is the waste of this, if you get it a little wet, you can take and do that, and it'll pull a lot of the Solvay that's in between, like the O's and the E's and stuff like that, out. So let's take the back out real quick. And this is not quite the tearaway that I like, but we're going to get some of that black cap backing in, and we'll be good to go the next time. So once I have all that out, we'll notice that we don't have that whiteness showing like we did on the last one. So what we're seeing over here in the M's, that's actually the Solvay, the little pieces of the Solvay left over. So I just need to dampen that down. But big point is, oh, there we go. Yeah. We're not going to keep you much longer because we've been going forever and ever and ever. This is how to do caps, the backs of caps. Important thing here is don't be afraid of doing it. It's okay to be afraid when you're, you think you might damage something. Be safe. Don't hurt yourself in something. But on the other hand, don't be afraid of getting a dozen hats to practice on, or like we always say, run up to the Ark or the Goodwill store and buy some scrap material, some older fabric to test on. Maybe it's flats. Maybe you can find some hats. Maybe you've got scrap hats sitting around that you accidentally ruined it, unhooped while you were sewing it, whatever it might be. Keep that stuff around just so that you can practice on it, okay? Keep the comments coming. We would love to hear what new types of applications you'd love to see.
Not one that they would love to see, but one that they're completely willing to share and I love. Rubber or silicone finger cover. We'll take that off there pretty quickly. And I didn't even think about that. I used
like a
to
thimble, like a rubber thimble.
Yeah, I used to use a rubber cement pickup, which is way back in the day for me. But yeah, totally.
Wow.
That's really smart.
Who was that?
Marianne?
Marianne, shout out to you. That is a great idea. So rubber thimble and I would assume you get it a little wet and you rub against that and it probably comes right off. That's a great idea, Marianne.
I thought that was super clever.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. Scott, if you would come over here. Nate, if you'd come over here.
I can't do both.
Yeah, it's okay. So from Scott, Nate, and Mike Doe here at Melco.
Step this way, Scott.
Yeah, we can't quite see. There he is. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for being a Melco customer. Have a great day and so on.